All right, everyone, welcome back to another conversation with Richard and again, my buddy Steve, as we bring back and begin part two of our conversations around the Anvil Men's Boot Camp. And we just really felt it's important to share some thoughts and share ideas about what the Anvil is all about and some of the critical topics that we talk about through this weekend. And if you've not seen any of our previous videos, our previous session where Steve and I really laid out the idea of identity and how critical that is for each one of us as men to be able to grasp the who we are in order to be able to step into the fullness of who God has created us to be. And so today, as we dive into this conversation, we're going to dive into the adventure to live, as John Eldredge names it in The Wild at Heart, and just the importance of what that is. And there's just some important key things. And this is a session that Steve teaches about and at the Anvil, and it's been such a good aspect of understanding our places as men, and what does it mean to venture forth with God, right? There's just to read one quote from Eldredge from Wild at Heart in talking about this on his chapter on Adventure to Live, where he talks about that life is not a problem to be solved; it is an adventure to be lived. Yeah, that's the nature of it, and has been since the beginning, when God set the dangerous stage for this high stakes drama and called the whole wild enterprise good. And he rigged the world in such a way that it only works when we embrace risk as the theme of our lives, which is to say, only when we live by faith. And I just, so we want to kind of really encompass that a little bit. And I'm going to bring Steve in. And Steve, just invite you to just share a bit about that. What does it mean? Because we can look at adventure in so many different ways. And I think there's definitely been situations where men have taken this in the wrong direction, and in a bad direction. So just please dive in, Steve, and share with me your thoughts on that, and what does that look like?
Well, to take that idea about, life is not a problem to be solved, but an adventure to live, and that we do it trusting in God. Adventure for man, and we'll go ahead and put in a little bit of Zoe on this too. And this is something this is near and dear to my heart, is that Michael Thompson talks about, who wrote the book Heart of a Warrior. He talks about a man who is oriented. A man who is oriented is one who knows who he is, where he is, and the good that God is up to in his life. And God is up to good in our life. And I really do believe that if you're not a believer, if you're a skeptic, that God is still up to good in your life, you just don't know what it is. You just don't know how to look for it, and you don't look for it, and you're missing out.
That's good.
And adventure, to build on that adventure, God put us in this. I mean, take a look at the Garden of Eden. Take a look at where Adam was formed. Adventure is what God gives us to draw us to Him. Because I mean, how can you go up to the top of Blood Mountain and look over and just not be in awe and wonder at the creation, and then therefore the creator, the one who formed all this stuff? So God, I do believe that God uses adventure to call us closer to Him on all this stuff. The one thing, and this is something that is so dear to my heart, is that let's take an example now, Richard. We show different videos at the Anvil, and this year last year I showed some pictures of the Hobbit, and this year I'm going to have a little video capture from it. And what it is it's Gandalf talking to Bilbo Baggins from the first movie, The Hobbit, And he talks about, there's an adventure here and a little spider. Um, and he's talking to Bilbo, and Bilbo says, "Adventures? No, we don't want any of those here. Those are nasty things. Make you late for dinner." I mean, they just don't want adventure, guys. If I all of a sudden get up and move, it's because it's raining and I have to get inside. But they espouse. They are very anti-adventure. They live comfortably. They eat well. Hobbits do. They live in a nice dry hole in the earth, very comfortable and bored. And I want to say, I know. In fact, I just took a phone call right before our meeting here from a friend of mine whose mom just passed away, and he's kind of lives like a hermit now, and he's just bored. He doesn't have any adventure, and therefore doesn't have any friends. And adventure is something that you can do with your friends. It's something that you can do in order to make your life better. And whether or not whatever that adventure is, I kind of like climbing mountains myself. I don't do rock climbing.
No. Oh, come on.
No. But I like walking paths. I like doing that kind of stuff. And adventure gets your heart beating. It gets you drawing closer to God. We do have to rely on God all the time. And adventure, sometimes we have to rely on Him to give us a little bit more strength to be able to do the adventure. I don't know. It's just, He puts it out there for us. God formed man in the wild, and we could have given the quiz, where was man created? A lot of people say in the Garden of Eden. No, he was not. He was created in the wild. Woman was born in the Garden of Eden. She was created in the Garden of Eden. We guys, I mean, Richard, we could do our Holy Smokes. We could do our Anvil weekend. We could do it in a stinking cave, and the men would be happy. I remember when we were doing our Anvil up at Oconee, and we're doing it in this old beat up barracks, and it was wonderful.
Yeah,
it was almost primitive living. Almost. We still had bathrooms. But we could do that. The women who were created in the garden, well, they're the ones that like curtains and candles and scentsy, and they get all that stuff going, and that's what the women love, and that's what God created them for. Woman was God's last creation and His greatest creation. If you follow creation all through from Genesis 1 to all the way through Genesis 11. Genesis 11, bugs, part of adventure.
Love the outdoors.
It has the flood in it, but the whole creation story, God's creations got better and better and better and more beautiful as they went along. Woman was the last thing created. Hey, I'm kind of thinking woman was the most beautiful. That's my opinion. So He created us in the wild, and that's why we want to get back out to the wild all the time.
Right.
We love rafting trips. We love hiking. We love waterfalls. Women want to get together and sew. Nothing against that. Nothing against that at all. I celebrate when Christy gets together with her girlfriends and does the girly kind of things,
Yeah.
But that's kind of the start. God uses adventure to draw us to Him. I've put down He uses adventure to nourish our soul and our spirit, because adventure does nourish us.
Right.
We have all of these things. We're working all the time. I'm sitting up in my office today, and it was a slow day, and it was just terrible. It was terrible slow. I hate a slow day. I like a lot of kick in my day, and but what God does is that He takes that, and then I can get off work, and I come out here on this back deck behind me, that I'm sitting out on, and I've got woods, and it's the closest thing to adventure I can have right out my back door. But He uses adventure to nourish our soul and spirit. And when I'm feeling stressed, I'm at least out here on the deck, and to get renourished. He also uses adventure to get us out of our comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
We get so wound up. Oh no, we don't want any adventures. They'll make us late for dinner. And what He does is He draws us into it and gets us out of our comfort zone, and gets us hurting sometimes, and gets us walking. And one time, oh my gosh, Christy and I did Blood Mountain once, and that's a mountain here in Georgia, up near Blairsville, and it's the unofficial start of the Appalachian Trail. The official start is actually Amicalola Falls, but Blood Mountain is the unofficial start. Well, we did Blood Mountain, and we're walking up that thing, and I was too out of shape to really do it, and we got up to the top, and we felt celebratory, and then we had to come back down some of the trail. You got to literally crawl over boulders. You're walking down slippery slopes of mud when you're coming back down. Your shins are being damaged all the way down the thing, because you're going 3 miles on a trail that is a cutback trail. And I was slipped in the mud and fell, and and it's like, but the only thing I could think of was, oh gee, there's 100-foot drop right ahead of me. I better grab onto something, and I did, and that was fun. And we stopped on the way down, and we looked out over, and we're about halfway down, and I'm looking out over this beautiful scenery, and the sun is just way out there, and it's getting ready to go down. And I'm like, man, it's sunrise from this mountain is beautiful. And then I'm like, or not sunrise, sunset.
Sunset, yeah.
Sunset from this mountain is beautiful. And then I'm like, sunset? Oh hell, I got to get off this mountain, and it's going to be dark. And it's like, Christy, we've got to go. We got to go now, And it's like, oh my goodness. And we actually, when we got to the car, the last little bit of light disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
It was that close, and it was exciting. And yes, God called us out of our comfort zone to be able to do that. Crawling up, just getting ourselves beat up, crawling down, falling, grabbing onto stuff so you don't fall off a cliff. Your shins are getting beat up, and then realizing that you're halfway down, and that you only have a little bit to go before the sun's gone, before there's no light. So yeah, it was fun. It was, so it was fun. We look back onto that thing, and we decided to stop at Cracker Barrel on the way back from Blood Mountain, and we got out of the car, and I always opened the door for Christy, and I'm walking around the back of the car to come and get to the door to open it up, and I have to lean on the car because I can't stand up already. My feet and my legs and my shins hurt so badly.
Yeah.
And but it was fun. But Christy and I talk about that now, and we laugh, and we say, man, that was so great.
Yeah.
And God drew us closer together, not just to Him, but as a couple. He drew us close together, sharing in this adventure. And guys like to adventure. I'm sorry, man. If you're a dude that you don't like to adventure, you and I need to talk.
Yeah.
Um, but guys in general love to adventure. Women don't really want the adventure as much. They want to put up curtains. And
Depends who you talk to, I guess. But yeah.
yeah, well, yeah. Well, Christy loves the adventure, but she doesn't want to do it by herself.
Right. Yeah.
She wants to go along the adventure. She wants me to lead her into the adventure.
Yeah, that's it.
And so that draws us closer together as a couple, and as a Christian couple, that's further drawing us closer to God. And that's just one story of one adventure. I got so many of those things, man.
Yeah.
It's pathetic.
That's awesome. I love that though, because I love the metaphor just of the story of y'all's hike up Blood Mountain and back down, and the pain and the struggle of trekking through those hills and the boulders you had to climb over. I've taken that hike a few times, and it's a work. It's definitely a work. But I think what's so it's a beautiful metaphor at the same time to, I think, when you talk about the work that God is up to in us, and you talked about what when you reference Michael Thompson and the oriented man of the good that God is up to in our lives, and all of those things, that even when it's painful, even when it's just, you feel like you've got nothing left and you're struggling, you have to hang on to the car because you can't move anymore, right? And whatever that looks like in any of our narratives, in our stories, there's still good that God continues to be up to in that. So even when we can't see it, that's a part of the adventure, this unscripted life that is just so wonderful and beautiful to embrace and be a part of. And sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it's a scary thing to step into. But I think when we are oriented to being men that are just swept up into wherever God is wanting to lead us, I think that's just the wonderful thing about it all, and what that can look like. So yeah, I think that story is just really paints that picture when you really think about it, from that perspective as well. And like you said with your bride, and what is it that John says, that women don't want to be the adventurer, they want to be caught up, invited into the adventure with you, right? So into that journey, what does that look like? Like I couldn't, like Amber can't be all the source of everything I'm after in my life, right? As wonderful and as beautiful as our marriage is, right? But she wants to be invited in to be a part of this journey with me, and that's what's helped our marriage thrive, and the way it has, because it became this invitation where we now can walk side by side in it, and it's so good. And like you said with you and Christy, it helps, it solidifies how close y'all are and how close we are, in that. So yeah. So yeah, I love that. I love that that picture.
The other thing that I want to talk about too is what I said. If you're a guy that you don't like to adventure, you and I got to have a talk. I mean, I want to take up that conversation with you. And it's like, if you just want to stay home and like do nothing, and that's there was a quote, let me look for it. Henry David Thoreau said it. It's kind of attributed to him, and it's most men live lives of quiet desperation and die with the music still in them. They're always, listen to this. This is something. This blows my mind, because I know people like this. They're always waiting for someone to tell them when to start their life. One day they look up and they realize life is over. That's the whole quote. And that is that is something too that I so badly, it's like just like identity, and it's so near and dear to my heart. Adventure is so near and dear to my heart that guys need to get out and do that. I know a couple of men who don't have any adventure at all, and they're stagnated, and they're probably going to die, early. Um, and they don't take care of themselves. They don't do anything, and it's so sad because they've got this entire life behind them and this little bit of life ahead of them. I say little bit of life. They're near 60, I guess, but
Mm.
um, you know, I'm 65. I like to tell people I don't know how long it is until I ride off into the sunset, but I know which way my horse is pointing.
There it is.
and and I've got so much adventure that I still want to live. And these guys live these lives of quiet desperation.
Mhm.
There is a really I'm going to most most theology or psychology from the 1970s is absolute garbage. But there was a song by a band called Pink Floyd, and this song was a takeoff of the Henry David Thoreau quote. And they're always waiting for someone to tell them when to start. And the song, um, tired of lying in the sunshine, staying home to watch the rain. You are young and life is long, and there is time to kill today. You think that today you can just kill it because you're young. And then one day you'll find 10 years of God behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. And the last line is, and I really think that this song was written in the vein and from the viewpoint of a man who just totally missed living life the way a human being should live life, living life of adventure and living life of at least some nominal excitement in his life. I mean, let's talk about Jesus and the apostles, the disciples. But the last line in that is I think is like a is like his last thoughts as he's laying on his deathbed, and it says, hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way, and and by golly, it's actually the human way.
Mm.
So hanging on in quiet desperation is the human way. And this really gets me because it's the guy's last thought. The time is gone, the song is over. And then as he takes his last breath, he says, thought I'd something more to say.
Mm.
And it's like, that just blows my mind. Can you imagine coming to, we'll use computer terminology, EOL, end of life. and you're laying there and you wonder where the excitement was, where the adventure was. And then you look back on your life and you go, man, is this all there is? I thought I had something more to say. I thought I had something to offer.
Yeah.
But I never did. And so for a couple of guys that I know, they've been around for close to 60 years. They don't have a single thing to show for their life.
Right.
They're going to be a piece of carbon that's going to dry up and shrivel up and have nothing to pass on to anyone, have nothing to offer to anyone. And it's very sad. It's a very sad situation to me.
Yeah.
And so let's not be those guys. Let's not be the guy from the Pink Floyd song. I mean, what is it, that one meme where it says, life, I don't want to just, die quietly in my sleep. I want to be able to get to the end of my life and slide head first into my grave and go, man, what a ride.
Yeah.
I mean,
Good.
that's the way I think we would love to go.
Yeah.
And I know that's the way I'd love to go. I mean, I don't want to die a little violent death or anything, but I want to die with a lot of adventure. I want people to say Steve loved getting out.
Yeah.
Steve loved doing things. Steve shared adventures with his wife. He loved that woman like crazy, and they did a lot of stuff together. And we've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We went on an adventure one time. We went down to, we live right off of Route 78 in Snellville, Georgia, and 78 goes all the way across the state. And so Christy wanted to go out one day, and she said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to go down to 78 and turn right, and let's see where we go." We wound up in South Carolina.
There it is.
It was so cool.
That's fun.
So yeah,
that's so good. Yeah, I think that's such a fun thing to think about, and it's so critical, because I think as you're talking, I'm hearing what Paul writes in Ephesians about making the most of every opportunity in these evil days, right? And what does that truly mean? Are we squandering every opportunity that we've been given and blessed with in this life, or are we taking advantage of what God has laid before us, right? In what in how we approach each day and all that. And that's really what this is about, of helping helping you realize there's a lot more to this life than just than just sitting. What is it that Rosie says in that one film, sitting south of 60, staring at the boob tube, bored to death, right?
Yeah,
and
that's where the real gold is.
Right. That's where the real, but that's how so many end up living and wasting so much of what has been given to them, this blessing of life. And I have a loud cars going by me right now. But that's just what's so wonderful about all that, of realizing there is so much more. And when we learn to live this unscripted this unscripted life, right? That
was unscripted.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that. That's exactly right. And we do these things unscripted, but it's just a wonderful thing to keep in mind and remember. And it's such an important piece of what we dive into in this weekend of how we're meant to really walk with God, and what that truly can look like in the course of our lives, and in how we approach every single day. So that's so good. So before we close it up, Steve, any final thoughts on that before we close it up for the?
No, I was just wanted to kind of go back to Jesus and the disciples. Are we getting late a little bit?
Yeah,
to be able to in some parts of the Bible, and it might say, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. It's one sentence, short sentence, but it might have been a 3-day hike for these guys.
Yeah.
And I look back on this and I think, wouldn't it have been exciting and scary and confusing to actually have been with Jesus during those hikes? You have these adventures during the day, and you never know what you're going to have. And the Bible always talks about, criminals and burglars and robbers along the paths, and they apparently were fairly common. Of course, you got 12, big beefy, fishermen with you, so they're probably not going to be doing a lot of attacking. But to be able to spend that time where you're talking and discussing life and adventure, and if they'd had movies back then, they'd have been talking about the best movies too. I mean, just whatever it is, to be able to talk with a group of men as part of the adventure. And then at nighttime they build a fire, they have dinner, They break bread with the creator of the universe at nighttime to be able to live like that. But then again, like I just said, with a group of men, and I think the adventure also puts us together, you and me, Chris Dearborn and Greg Roth recently went up to Cleveland. Was it Cleveland?
Yep.
And stayed there for 3 days, and it was wonderful. And the adventure, just the things we did bonded us together. And I think that's another thing that adventure does, that we have to remember. It will put us together with other men and be able to give us things to share with other men. And to be able to bring other people along with us for the adventure, so that they can further bring people with them on their adventures, and then teach those people to bring people with them on their adventures.
That's so good.
Yeah,
that's so good. Sounds like discipleship. Know what it is?
That's what adventure is. Yeah,
exactly
well, that is what discipleship is. Discipleship is adventure.
Walking with
adventure
God.
is discipleship.
There it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good. So good. I love it. Oh man. Yeah, I'm so thankful that we get to talk about this. And Greg, Steve, thank you for joining me this week.
You're very welcome.
This is
a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is. I love being able to do this and have these conversations and share on this. And guys, this is that invitation once again for y'all to join us this November 10th through 13th. Join us at the Anvil Men's Boot Camp, Strong Rock Camp, Cleveland, Georgia. Got to say it right. And
the link is below.
It'll be right there. Yep, you'll see it. It's going to come and be able to. You can go right online, register, and just get your spot. Join us and come and see what adventure God wants to unfold, and may begin to unfold in your life at that weekend. That may start and may lead through you into the days, weeks, and years to come. You never know. But it's just an amazing opportunity to unpack this and so much more that we get to unpack over the course of the weekend. So just we invite you to join us. So we hope to see you in November. And we'll be back again for another conversation sometime soon. So again, until next time, friends, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you again. Take care. God bless y'all.